Hello everyone, and welcome to a Minecraft development video. Yes, this is a little different from our normal update videos as we're going to be looking into the development history of the Warden mob. And this is all possible thanks to a fantastic tweet thread from Kingbdogz over on Twitter. And also on YouTube, the Minecraft channel published this amazing Secrets of Minecraft video that showed us some of the concept art and other animations all revolving around the Warden. This inspired the Minecraft community, and over on Reddit we got some amazing fan art of the prototype for the Warden. And as always, all of this stuff is linked in the description box down below if you want to go and check it out in closer detail. But before we get into all of that, I have a little bit of a PSA, a public service announcement that needs to be communicated. And this specifically relates to the zombified piglin farms that we build in the Nether to farm XP. The developers are indeed going to be patching this out of the game in 1.19, and they're looking for your feedback over there on Twitter. So I wanted to bring up these tweets to remind all of you that this old exploit of a bug that has been in the game for a long time will be patched out and removed in 1.19. So the angry pigman dropping XP is unintentional behavior, and it's going to be replaced with something intentional, which will involve the Sculk blocks and give us a proper way to passively farm XP in the future. So please don't be alarmed. Mojang are listening. They want to do this with the community. They want to do it right. We're going to be removing something that was always an exploit and replacing it with something intentional. Now let's jump into the Secrets of Minecraft video over on the Minecraft YouTube channel. This gave us some insights into the Warden's development, but it was also full of gags and had a great sense of humor, and all in all, it was a really great video. It also showed us some of the pre-release footage of the Deep Dark and the Warden that we'd already seen before in various places like at Minecraft Live. And then when it came to the concept art, the stuff that I was really fascinated by, I felt like it kind of blitzed it over, just blasting through some screenshots, and what I want to do in this video is take a closer look at some of that concept art. But first of all, we also got this prototype footage from the game of one of the original Warden mobs here. And if we just play that again, it looks kinda cheesy, but it is a pretty menacing creature. If we watch the video back a little bit slower again, there isn't really any secrets to be gleaned here, as this is not going to make it into the game, obviously, but it's just fascinating to see some of the ideas that they went through before landing on the Warden as we now know it today. And so now let's jump into that tweet thread as we have another video here of a prototype when this mob was known as the Stalker, and this, my friends, is definitely interesting. And take a moment if you can to thank Kingbdogz for sharing this kind of stuff with us. I find it so fascinating to see game development and how things come from one thing to another, and you might be looking at this and thinking, well, that's not very impressive, that looks really derpy, but obviously it's just like an early concept, bringing in the shape, putting in some basic texturing to get an idea of where this could potentially go. And I kind of feel like this mob is really abstract and looks a bit weird with its shape, but I love the way that it kind of transforms into a different type of mob, and I think that'd be really cool to have something in Minecraft where a mob actually has two phases. I doubt we'll see this one come back as that, but if that idea is to ever be revisited, then this would be a good reference. The next thing we have is another version of the Stalker with the Sculk blocks. And I think these blocks might have looked a little better underground. They don't mix with the grass and the environment very well, but it's certainly an interesting concept and an interesting bunch of textures. And here is a slightly different iteration of that concept, although it looks very similar because the screenshot is quite zoomed out. I do believe these textures are somewhat different from the previous ones we just saw. And the next one is with the idea of typophobia, which I believe is a fear of holes. So these textures have holes in them, and as Kingbdogz points out, these are their own textures, not the ones that the texture team make. And yeah, having a closer look, these are pretty gnarly and weird and bizarre looking, and I think this would be a hard one to mix into the Minecraft game aesthetic, but it's certainly interesting. And yes, the word of the day is interesting. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. And so here we learn about the early ideas for the Warden. The Stalkers were going to have glowing items in the middle of the chest, and you would find them in biomes floating on totems, which sounds totally cool. And so here's a closer look at the concept art where the Stalker has different types of faces, and also its ears will light up when it hears sounds around it, which is certainly cool. And so the thread goes on to explain that the Stalker would use glowing loot to trick the player, and it could also chase them through 1x1 holes because it can transform its body. It would have also been the tallest mob in the game, as it would have been taller than the Enderman, but they pointed out that the asymmetry of the mob didn't really look good in Minecraft, which is something that I felt about looking at that creature. The fact that it was lopsided kind of made it look a little odd. And yeah, if you want to have a read of that for yourself, all of the tweets are linked in the description box below. So jumping back into the concept art, we have here what's simply just known as a rust block, which actually sounds like a cool thing that could be added into the game. And then we have my favourite, which is cracked bones. Now, I love the bone block in Minecraft, but a cracked variation would be really cool. And this could also include some blocks that are actually like bone-shaped objects coming out of the ground. And all of that stuff to me sounds really awesome. Then we have what's possibly known as just corruption, with corruption veins spreading out, and they have particles that were going to go up into the air and then vanish away. And although this one looks dull, it's quite a keen concept, as the idea is that geocorruption will spread with geometric patterns, and the texture here is simply just purple and black. And this one is possibly known as hollow, and it can disease other blocks and then turn them into hollow blocks, and the style here is just pure black. And then we have the typophobia one, which we've already seen before, and this sounds really creepy when you read about it. It's a mixture of flesh and hole clusters is the texture, and when you look through the hole you're supposed to see into the void, which yeah is really quite creepy. And now it's time to check out the amazing concept art for the Warden mob itself. This one here describes the creature as being overtaken by the hollow. In the first iteration, that's with bandages. In the second one, it's half rotted flesh and half pale flesh. In the third, it has giant menacing fangs. And last of all, it's almost fully rotten flesh, with parts still being consumed by the hollow corruption. Here are some other designs, with a note saying that it has a hunchback made out of the Sculk material. And also down here you can see it has some different ear-shaped designs too. And speaking of ears, here are some alternatives for the Warden, as well as the skin being different in the middle. None of these are the ones that we currently know, by the way. Then we have a weird smiling creature with a body made of scales. An albino owl that only spreads their ears when detecting sound. And a rotting creature that wears a skull mask that looks like an undead being. All of this stuff really does fascinate me. It's really cool to see these things. And that brings us to this one, where unfortunately it's really hard to read the text and decipher what the notes are here. But in these first sketches, I kind of note that the face almost looks like a villager in a ways. And let's face it, all of them are pretty darn creepy, right? These over on this side are very similar to the ones that we've already seen. I find the face here to be really creepy. And possibly the creepiest of them all, this one here. Coming down to this corner, I think we see what is most like the Stalker. This one here looks very much like what we've seen. And then in the middle, we have some that look like they're based on the Wither, even more so when we go down. These look very adjacent to the Wither mob. And then the last two are rather striking. This one right here looks like it could be related to the Enderman. And this one actually looks really gorgeous and friendly, like it's a rocky creature that you might find roaming around in the lush caves and it's overgrown with moss. It's all very inspiring, and it's thanks to that video. I really like that the Minecraft and Mojang team are doing this kind of behind the scenes stuff, so be sure to go and check it out. It's loaded with loads of great humour and all of that stuff. And obviously that brings us to the end of the video, so leave a like to support the channel, subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll be covering 1.18 and 1.19's development here on this channel. Thanks for watching, bye bye.